Okay, I was going to save this comparison for the next Halloween special season, but I couldn't wait for much longer, and I feel like I have to talk more about the movie that I have watched last year. For today's video, I'm comparing the live-action Really Haunted Loud House to Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Okay, I know they're not the same movie, but I do see some similarity with the plots, so without wasting any more time, let's get started with this. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 took place in 2 years after the first movie. Well, Abby misses her friends, and she tried to yoke for them one time, but they weren't there. But turns out there's a original Fairy Fazbear place, and I'm just going to stop right there because the story disappears afterwards, much like the first movie did. Well, the Really Haunted Loud House is pretty much the same as the plot for the live-action Christmas movie. Well, except it was a better version of that to me. Well, instead of Lincoln getting upset over the change of plans, it's the Loud Sisters that get upset, and to me, that makes sense, because this is something that you would expect from the Loud Sisters' behavior. Well, the overall story of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 doesn't make any sense. I mean, you see the animatronic attacking some random parents, and there's no explanation of why they are doing this. Well, Toy Freddy explained the reason, but it just felt like we just missed something from the movie, and I was confused when I first watched this movie, and now I'm even more confused when I watch this again, and that's really because they didn't even add an important backstory in the movie at all to build up a decent plot. The Really Haunted Loud House does not have a great story either, but it was decent enough to give us something entertaining and actual high stake, and that's pretty much the same as the characters. The live-action Loud House had some pretty bad actors, and it just bothers me. But in the Halloween movie, it seems like this is the first time they just got the Loud family right. They have the goofy energy of the Loud siblings from the actual cartoon, and I was impressed. Well, especially at the dentist scene, where they act in character. The actor who plays as Lenny Loud cracked me up in this scene, and she did a good job there. Well, although the only characters that I don't like is Rita Loud. She's been feeding her kids some candy in every Halloween. She especially feed them candy on dinner time, and that is not a parent thing to do. And this is why they were in the dentist, because the Loud siblings just had cavities. Well, not only that, she just literally throwed away the candy and decide to give toothbrushes to the trick-or-treaters, and there's no reason why she would do this. And as a result, Lincoln has caused a civil war between the Loud siblings and the angry mob. But with that being said, my all-time favorite character of the movie was Lynn Sr. He had a pretty decent arc of becoming a werewolf, or we thought he was, and even he found out that he is not a werewolf, he just keeps going brave and have enough courage to protect his family from the enemies. The characters in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, well, the first thing that I gotta say is that, well, Mike is still a good character, but I feel that he is a bit underutilized. Well, Vanessa is my favorite character of the first movie, But here, she was pretty wasted. Like, at the end of the movie, she gets left behind and ends up getting possessed by the marionette at the end. Well, although she had a completed character development where she dreams and faces her fears of her father once and for all, and I can be proud of her, but it felt like this is something that she could have done in the climax of the battle and not earlier in the movie. In the first Five Nights at Freddy's, well, I thought Abby was an okay character, but in the second movie, I don't like her at all. She has zero awareness of something wrong is going to happen, and I didn't even feel bad when she gets possessed, and I really don't. Well, in the beginning of the movie, Abby doesn't look at all traumatized from the event from the first movie. She acted like the coolest person in the world, telling stories about her experience in the first movie. Like, what the hell? If that were me, I wouldn't even act like that at all. I mean, let's look at Megan 2.0. Well, Katie was indeed traumatized after the event from the first movie, but yet she still believing good in Megan despite everything what happened. Okay, I know some of you guys don't really appreciate the Megan franchise, but the story of Katie living through that trauma and disappointment while struggling, but yet still having hope, it just felt so real and more relatable that way. And that proved that Megan can handle their child characters far better than Five Nights at Freddy's did, and that does not look good on the record. Alright, for the story, I might give this to The Really Haunted Loud House. Well, for how basic it is, at least it doesn't have a bad ending. Like FNAF 2 give Vanessa a bad ending. And as for the characters, The Really Haunted Loud House have this on the bag. So yeah, I have spoken, people. The movie with the superior story and characters is The Really Haunted Loud House. Alright, the villain of The Really Haunted Loud House is the cool kid named Sandard, and his villainous motivation was pretty stupid. I mean, he just got mad about the people giving out toothbrushes to the trick-or-treater, and he was seriously pissed about that, even though he is too old for trick-or-treating, and that never happened to him. Well, as a result, Lincoln Loud just sent a attack to his own family house on accident, and during the battle scene, well, Sander just suddenly became the bad guy of this movie, even though he does nothing wrong in the beginning, and then he just went total a-hole mode when he just stole Lisa's pumpkin and tries to crush it, and Lincoln and Clyde even almost died during the climax, and by the end, he ends up getting humiliated by the Loud family. The main villain of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was Michael Affman and the toy animatronic. Alright, let's start with the toy animatronics. Well, first of all, I liked how they made them talk, because we never heard the animatronic talk of any of the Five Nights at Freddy's game. They're just usually just silent horror characters, so I am glad that they made them talk, but they still lack personality. Well, the only animatronic that did had more personality is Toy Chica, but at the same time, her personality just reminded me so much of Megan, and they even copied the same concept from the Megan movies. Megan killed a boy for messing with Katie, and for the record, he really deserved that. Well, Chica, on the other hand, she killed the teacher for being an a-hole to Katie. Well, as for my Michael Affman. In plot twisting, he is actually Vanessa's brother, and his villainous motivation was there, but they didn't even explain why he is motivated, which it is important. Alright, if I had to choose, then I would easily give it to Xander from the Really Haunted Loud House. Well, for how dumb his motivation was, at least he held as a decent threat to the Loud family. I mean, he tries to humiliate them in every way where he thinks it is funny. And plus, Michael Affman barely had any screen time in this movie, much like Springtrap was barely in the first movie. So the movie with the superior villains is the Really Haunted Loud House. Alright, now we're on to the action. Well, I thought the action in the Really Haunted Loud House was so dang entertaining. For a live-action adaptation, the action really came straight out of the cartoon, and it really shows how powerful the Loud family can be. Well, although, I wish that it has the same pace as the cartoon, because the Loud House cartoon speed things up with their action, and as for the live-action version, it really comes off slow. Well, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 only have one action scene at the end, and it has horror elements. Let's start with the horror. The horror elements was better this time around. When I watched it in theaters, I just jumped from the jump scares, and I was impressed, and they freaking did the mechanics from the gameplay and the action at the end where the original animatronics came back and kicked all of the toys animatronics' butt was such a cool anti-hero moment. Okay, as much I had fun with the action in the Really Haunted Loud House, well, especially the climactic battle that felt like Avengers Endgame to me, I have to give this round to Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Lincoln in the Really Haunted Loud House did things right for his family, so things doesn't go out of hand, and on that contrary, it works. Well, especially the Loud sisters had more screen time than they did in the live-action Christmas movie. They were doing like a Michael Jackson expired dance numbered, which I like, and Lucy totally gave Batman a run for his money. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is good for doing something right from the games, unlike the first film, but the problem is that the story and characters are not that good compared to the first movie. I think they really should make up for the story for the third movie that they set up. Well, if they do, then rather the third movie ends up being even better or worse. Although, the second movie's story might not be as good as the first movie, but I think I can appreciate what we just got. Well, I am not a fan of the live-action Loud House, but yet, I think the Halloween film is the only good live-action Loud House stuff. Well, is it great? Well, no, not exactly great, but it was well done compared to the Christmas film. Well, it might not be as good as the animated version, but it was decent enough. Alright, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 still gets a 7 out of 10. The Really Haunted Loud House is a low 7 out of 10. Alright, comment down below of which movie do you prefer and why. Well, even though I'm more of a Loud House fan, I think I should give this to Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Well, anyway, my name is Isaiah Belfort, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Well, just to let you know, my friend recently had a YouTube channel, and I would recommend checking his channel out and subscribe to him. He would be much more appreciated if you do, and make sure to like and subscribe to my channel as well. Well, until then, my name is Isaiah Belfort, and I will see you guys next time.